behalf of ORF, I am privileged to welcome Shri S.Y. Qureshi, former Chief Election Commissioner of India, Ambassador Neelam Dev, Director of Gateway House, Indian Council of Global Relations, Mr. Dhruv Jaishankar, Fellow Foreign Policy Studies, Brookings, India, Mr. Shakti Sinha, Director of the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library, and to our dear friend, Mr. Sailesh Gandhi, former Chief Information Commissioner, who needs no introduction to this audience. A big thank you to all our panelists today for so readily expressing your consent to participate in the discussions. I also thank and welcome each one of you for taking time out early on a working day to participate in this unique dialogue. Friends, as the world's biggest democratic exercise culminates in the counting of votes to elect a new government 13 days from now, we have gathered here for a very important event, a discussion that aims to shape not just the future of India's own democracy, but how in the coming years and decades will India, as the world's largest democratic republic, will influence the promotion of the golden principles of the people, by the people, and for the people around the world. Democracy, or the idea of it, has been said to have been under a threat in the past 5 years of the Modi government. But coming to think of it, is democracy under any kind of a threat, whether perceived or real, only in India? A look around nations that have carried the flag of the liberal world order in the post-Second World War era, including the United States and Great Britain of the West, and the fledgling democracies of Africa, South and Southeast Asia, makes it quite obvious that democracy is indeed under some strain at the global level. Sections of the young populations and those that are marginalized or have lost out are disenchanted. Globally, therefore, individuals and communities need to do more to ensure democracy's sustenance. We have to demand more of our leaderships in these times. And we must also ensure that democratic institutions, symbolized by the 4 venerable pillars of democracy, that is the legislature, the judiciary, the press, and the executive, are strengthened to function in a truly democratic way. Friends, amidst all the accusations of democracy under threat, it is an undeniable fact that since the past couple of decades, India as a nation is rising. The sleeping giant is slowly but surely awakening. India is slated to breach the $5 trillion milestone very soon. At a time when the world watches India, how India shapes up in the 21st century, it warrants a sincere deliberation on what India's interests are. As the liberal world order works on a dictum, the bigger the economy, the larger the interests. With Balakot, a sense of consciousness is already apparent with recent national security discourse gaining center stage. The surgical strikes and the air strikes deep inside enemy territory being used as election propaganda tools to fan what the opposition has claimed to be contestable nationalistic fervor. But the larger national interests, both at home and abroad, need to be thought of in a holistic, result-oriented, and not just in a reactive and combating to threats kind of a mindset. And that is why defining what India stands for is the real need of the hour. Towards that end, Indian democracy is sure to be at the center of conversation at the global level, given its novelty, not just in terms of size, but also its vibrant and pluralistic character. In shaping a region and world conducive to India's interests then, wouldn't promotion of democracy be also at the center stage of India's foreign policy? Friends, today's deliberation aims to explore just that. And in doing so, we must, of course, analyze if also the so-called threat to India's own democracy itself is real or just an opportunistic political rhetoric. In the run-up to the ongoing Lok Sabha elections, the general mood of the masses has offered ample glimpse of a country where minds are being shaped by a one nation, one leader narrative, where a crafty political machine has blurred distinctions between myth and reality, where welfare schemes like Ujjwala, Jan Dhan and Ayushman Bharat coexist in an incendiary communal environment, where the humdrum of daily existence is sought to be erased by the well-spun dream of a new India and a strong leader. It is against this background, friends, the Observer Research Foundation, in collaboration with Asia Democratic Network, has embarked on this series of dialogues and brainstorming revolving around India's approach to global democracy assistance, which, as a natural corollary, also means conducting an introspection on the state of democracy within our own country. The first of this series was organized just 4 days ago in Kolkata. This dialogue series will also be held in Chennai and Bangalore and culminate in a national level dialogue in New Delhi. We hope that with today's discussion, where we have a well-knit panel of experts, this endeavor, as well as the other dialogues in India's other regional metropolises, will help build the much required momentum on India's external democracy support. And some interesting two-bit about this venue and why it is so relevant to what we are doing today. This is, if the pillars in this room are, and this is something not too relevant, are made of the same steel that was used to build the Eiffel Tower in Paris. But what makes it really relevant is that in 1947, just before the end of the British Raj, Lord Mountbatten gave his final speech to his colonial country at that time, of which he was the Governor General, in this very hall. So, and that marked the end of the colonial rule in India. And that also marked the birth of a young nation, which 3 years later became the world's largest democratic republic. So with that, please allow me to invite my friend and colleague from ORF's New Delhi office, Dr. Niranjan Sahoo, a senior fellow, to take charge of the proceedings.